Sorry, I'm late. Sorry. I blame BC. She, I don't, I was sitting here giving her threads in Discord because she must have started a new profile. So, anyway, so I was giving her threads in Discord and then I lost track of time. So, sorry I'm late. How is everybody this evening? I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you all had a very eventful Sunday and Memorial Day weekend for all of you who are American and celebrate Memorial Day. I do know that we have a few people who watch from abroad and I don't know, do they celebrate Memorial Day abroad? Or is that just a US thing? Do they have like their own version? I mean, they've all gone through wars also. I don't know. I don't know. So, anyways, we are going to talk about Kelly Bryant. And so I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with that case. But Kelly Bryant is the Michigan momster who abandoned her kids for several years. Hi, Louisiana girl. How are you? Good to see you. She abandoned her kids for several years in Michigan, and let me see here. So Oakland County, Michigan. She was 34 when she was arrested, and she had abandoned her kids, three children, since 2020. They have their own thank you in the bushes. Happy 38 months, by the way. That's a long freaking time. Long time that you've been a member. But so she abandoned her kids, and I'm gonna tell you guys, we don't get to see the whole preliminary hearing. What we get to see is about 28 minutes of the actual court process that took place because her three children did testify. And so since they testified, they did not allow them to be shown on camera, and none of that was able to be recorded. But what we did see was the deputy who went into the home, and he essentially recalls the horrific conditions that he walked into whenever he entered into the home when the kids were abandoned. And so we're gonna take a look at this preliminary hearing, and then we're gonna discuss everything that's going on. So, hi, Libby, how are you? Uh, Bushes, are you home yet? Just curious, or are you still captured? I say captured as if you're like locked up, but you're not locked up. She's not locked up. If that sounded horrible. Just curious if you're back home though. Hi, Lioness. How are you? Anyway, so let me go ahead and get this preliminary hearing pulled up. One of the things that I want you guys to look at, the audacity that she has to just be smiling and happy and, just talking and chatting all throughout this hearing. She did not care at all. Look, this is one of her facial expressions. She has absolutely not a care in the world about what she put these kids through, not a care in the world about the fact that she left them for as long as she did. Even whenever the deputy is describing the conditions that her children were living in, you guys are going to notice that she has not 1 ounce of remorse. Hi, Red Rock. How are you? Hi, Justice Jane. Hi, Shadow. So, not 1 ounce of remorse for anything that she did. She was out living her best life. She was going to hair appointments, nail appointments. They talk about all of that. While her kids were living in a situation where they had not been groomed or taken care of or had anybody to look out for them. Not one hygiene product was purchased in the entire 5 years. Not one hygiene product, not one type of cleaning material, no garbage bags, no nothing. Nothing to help these children clean up after themselves. And they weren't even allowed to step outside of the house to remove the waste at all. Oh man, you don't know this case. Okay. I will tell you some of the details. Yes, this is her, Lioness. Hi, Ringo. I'm doing really good, Libby. Doing really good. Life has been busy. We are in full swing of sports seasons and work and all those things. And so life has just been very busy. So I'm just trying to make time for you guys when I can. And we're kind of going with it. We're just going with the flow. So we'll see what happens. We still haven't heard. My son tried out for the All-Star team. We still haven't heard. It's been a week since tryouts, but I believe they were holding like a separate tryout also. So we're just trying to wait and see, if he's going to make the team or not. If he makes the team, that definitely complicates my life slightly more than it already is, but we'll see what happens. So let me just let me read down through this case for those of you guys who do not know. Let me pull this up real quick. Okay. So this is from May 16th. So this is kind of like a newer article, but also before the preliminary hearing, maybe. I don't want it to tell you all the preliminary hearing details. Hold on. Okay. So here we go. So this will give you a brief backstory, and then you guys are going to hear some more stuff whenever we start looking at the actual video. Hi, Savage. Savage. How are you? That's awesome. Good to see you. We miss you too. You know who else I miss? Locomai. I don't know where the heck Locomai is, but she needs to come back. Okay, so Kelli Bryant, this is her. We've done a couple videos on this back in February, I want to say. So she is going to be going to trial for charges of child abuse and welfare fraud. So she was accused of abandoning her three children inside of the Pontiac condo for nearly 5 years. And so this is totally going to tell us all the details. So this is backstory. Bryant was charged with 3 counts of first-degree child abuse last month after her children were abandoned in the Pontiac condo for 4 or 5 years. She lived at another home and would occasionally drop off food at the home. So she was also charged with welfare fraud, and they're saying that she had illegally obtained $29,400 from the Department of Health and Human Services. So the children were found February 14th after the condo's landlord requested a welfare check. She had been paying rent on this apartment that these children were, on this condo that these children were living in for the entire time until October of this past year. And then in October of this past year, she kind of made excuses about why she was late on payments and things like that. And then she stopped paying and stopped talking to the landlord altogether in December. So the landlord in February, after having failed attempts to contact her for several months, decided to go ahead and call a welfare check. Whenever police arrived to the house, the children at first were hiding in the bathroom. They the deputy is going to describe to us today during this preliminary hearing the initial sights and smells and things that took place whenever they went into the condo, and just years and years of rubbish. The bathroom was not in operating conditions. There was takeout containers and things like that, uh, piled very, very high. There are cleaning videos out there and things like that that we haven't watched the cleaning videos, simply because it goes from a point of shaming this mom to also these are images that these children are going to have to live with forever. And so it's kind of like that borderline as to, is it important to look at that? I mean, it is in a way because that's the condition that they were living in. That's what they were suffering through and things. But their nails on their feet, for example, were so long that they had trouble walking. They had not been outside the entire time. The oldest son had went outside twice, once to just touch grass, and another time to get the mail at his mom's instructions, and then to run back right back inside. She had told her family that the children's father had gotten custody of them back whenever he got out of prison. And she had told him that he was not allowed to see them. So it was a lot of people being misled and things like that, and her lying about things. She actually had a new boyfriend who basically immediately did an interview basically and said that he was, or that she had always told him that she was sending money to them and things. He did not realize that she had custody of these children still. And so it's just a whole horrific, disgusting case, really. So let's go ahead and take a look at this preliminary hearing, though, and that'll definitely fill you guys in on more information. Now, at the time, whenever the children would have been left, hold on. I want to say they are currently 8, or they would have been, hold on, let me just look it up. Okay, so they were found at 15, 13, and 12 currently. So figure 5 years ago, she would have abandoned a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old to live on their own completely. And so just absolutely horrific. And you have to stop and think, why were these children so afraid to leave? They all had access to a cell phone. They had access to they had the ability to talk to different people. The oldest son, for example, we heard the oldest son had actually developed friendships with people online through video game platforms. So she was even buying them access to outside people basically to be able to play video games and things like that. And these children never spoke up about their conditions. They never asked for help. They never asked for anybody. They didn't ever reach out to their grandparents, for example, or anything along those lines. And it makes you stop and question, what did she do to these kids prior to leaving them there that they were so afraid to reach out? What did she do to them to make them fearful to even step outside, to even open the door to take the trash out, to even open the door for longer than a second to grab the DoorDash orders and things like that? What type of things was this momster saying to these children that kept them locked inside of this house? And it honestly terrifies me to think about the things that she was saying and doing to them before she finally abandoned them and left them there alone. Hi B Tim, hi Fly on Your Wall. Sorry, I just wanted to finish my thought. Hi Granny Annie. Good to see you guys. It's so awesome to see everybody coming in. Yeah, we don't know the neglect that they suffered before this. I agree. I think that they were abused long before. And one of the things that she actually says through this was that she sacrificed her children. She sacrificed them for what? It's just there's a lot of questions. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this. I'm going to stop talking so that we can actually see, so you guys can see what I've already seen. Obviously, I'm sorry I keep telling you guys details without actually showing it. So let me go ahead and play it.
Kelli Bryant, the case number 250216FY, and also case number 250310F1.
Good morning, Your Honor. Erica Smith appearing on behalf of the people for the welfare fraud case.
Good morning, Your Honor. Nika Ferenczi on behalf of the people.
And good morning, Your Honor. Celia Karen on behalf of Ms. Bryant on both cases.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Ben Garnick on behalf of Ms. Bryant on behalf of the child abuse case.
All right. And Ms. Bryant, would you state your name for the record, please?
Kelli Bryant.
Thank you. This is the time and date for preliminary exams on both cases. As to the welfare fraud case, Ms. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor. It's my understanding that we are going to have a waiver on that case. I think our inclination is to have the child abuse exam go first to make sure that that's bound over or is at least concluded, and then waive on the welfare fraud case just to keep the two cases together. So however the court wants to do that, that was our thought, but if the court has a different suggestion, we're obviously open to that as well.
That would be fine if there's no objection.
There's no objection, Your Honor. We just like to keep everything together.
All right, that's fine. So I'll circle back to that. at the conclusion of the child abuse case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. As to the child abuse matter, parties are ready to move forward?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Are there any preliminary matters for the record?
Yes, Your Honor. The parties are asking for a mutual sequestration order. I do have Detective Frisch, who is the officer in charge in this case. I asked for him to remain. And I have the first witness, Deputy Curtis, who's in the courtroom right now.
No objection.
I will note mutual sequestration of witnesses until they're called. The officer in charge can say.
Thank you, Your Honor. Secondly, because the victims in this case are children, we are asking for their names to not be said today in court. My suggestion would be to label them as the oldest child, the middle child, and the youngest, just to protect them.
And Your Honor, we spoke about this before. We have no desire for their names to be repeated in court over and over again, so we're in agreement. And
Because they are minor children, the court can agree with that as well.
thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. There was stipulations to the exhibits for purposes of examination only. I do have photographs of the home. They're labeled as People's Exhibits 1 through 20. I do have them on a USB for the court. And I also have hard copies of the pictures. Secondly, the 21 and 24 of the People's Exhibit are the forensic interviews of the victims in this case. So there are 3 forensic interviews that were conducted at Care House. And we are asked if there's a stipulation for them to be admitted in for purposes of exam only for in-camera review.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And I will note stipulation for the admission. That's for the exhibits as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
1 through 20. Also stipulation for the admission of 21 and 24 for purposes of the preliminary examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
So she's just so smug, like throughout this whole situation. It just drives me absolutely insane. And Savage, you had said, that she clearly hasn't missed any meals. This is her. This is her. Before she was arrested, her brother, I believe, I want to say it was her brother. I could be wrong, but I believe it was her brother. Um, was operating a entertainment type business, and so she was the entertainer for this business. She was always very well taken care of. Had the she had her hair done, her nails done. She always looked fine. You know what I mean? And then here we go. She's all set up and things like that. But meanwhile, her children are living in this. So this is her up until her mugshot, right? And then the bathtub, the bathroom. It's just they were just living in absolute squalor. Um, absolute squalor. And there were
And
people
I gotta clean it.
who were hired to clean that went in and took videos after the trash was all removed and like the state of the home. But there's also videos of them removing the trash, removing the mattresses, removing everything, because these cleaners had to go in and basically biohazard companies had to come in first. And this is how she left her kids, you guys, for years. Years and years and years. And so imagine that you're only getting DoorDash, you're only getting takeout, you're only getting stuff like that sent to your house week after week after week, day after day after day. And that's how you're getting fed, but you're not allowed to take the trash out. So what do you do with all the trash, right? You're talking takeout containers for 3 kids day after day after day after day, at least until she slowed down on feeding them. After a while, they started only getting just like a single loaf of bread sent. They started only getting bare minimums of supplies. And again, she never once sent them trash bags. She never once sent them any type of personal hygiene items, no toilet paper, no tampons for the girls, no nothing, no soap, no toothpaste, no toothbrushes, nothing in 5 years. Not one not one type of any type of cleaning. And it's just sad. It's just absolutely devastating the way that she left these kids. And so to think about that, and then to think about the fact that she is just sitting in this courtroom so freaking nonchalant and just not a care in the world as she's facing all these charges, and she hears about the way that she left her kids. And it's just it just infuriated me, honestly. Watching all of this, it just completely and totally infuriated me. And I don't know how defense attorneys do this. I say this on every case. I feel like that we watch these court processes. I could never defend scum like this. Um, I could never. But so whenever she first started this court process, they also put a no contact order in place because they did not want her reaching out to the people who had the children, which is her family. Her family currently has the children. Well, I don't know if they still have them, but they did have the children whenever all of this was taking place. And the instructions were that they were not to let her speak to the children, and she was not to reach out and speak to the children. She was not to try to contact anybody in that side of the family, but that's her dad. So she was still reaching out. And the court called her on that very quickly and tried to stop that contact because she had reached out multiple times to talk to them. And so then you have to wonder, did she try to threaten the kids? Are the people who have the children going to be on her side or on the kid's side? And has anybody tried to manipulate their testimony, or did grandpa go into grandpa mode and want to protect these kids from everything that happened to them? I don't know. I don't know. And I'm sure we'll find out some details about how all of that is going to play out and things like that as this court process moves through. We're only 3 months in, and we already have a preliminary hearing. And so I imagine that this court process is probably going to go rather quickly. Um, but with that being said, you know, how much are we going to hear because of the fact that this involves minors? Are they going to block a lot of that information out because it involves these minor children who are still alive, who are still going to be affected by this for the rest of their lives? So it's all questions that we may or may not get answered. Hi, grateful middle-aged cat mama. Hi, Seal. Good to see you. Seal's watching me on the beach. I can feel the sun in my hair, and my sun beating down on my skin, and the wind in my hair as I'm sitting here. That's so exciting. I want to be on the beach. Seal somewhere on a beach.
Thank you, Your Honor. And then lastly, there were some stipulations to facts in this case. First, that Kelli Bryant is the mother of the named victims and that she had custody over them.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Second, that all the three named victims are under the age of 18.
That is also correct, Your Honor.
And third, that Kelli Bryant was named on the lease of 660 Lydia Avenue in the city of Pontiac.
That is also correct, Your Honor.
Court will accept those stipulations as to facts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other preliminary matters you ready?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
People will call the first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people called Deputy Curtis.
Deputy, if you will come forward and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you, please be seated. You can proceed when ready.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Deputy. Deputy, are you employed?
Yes.
Where are you employed?
Oakland County
You have to
Sheriff's
put his
Office.
name on the record and spell the last name.
Oh, I apologize. Could you state and spell your name?
Deputy Quincy Curtis, QUINCYCURTIS.
Thank you. Where are you employed?
Oakland County Sheriff's Office, Pontiac Substation.
And how long have you been in the Pontiac substation?
Just under 6 years.
And what's your current position there?
Patrol deputy.
Okay, can you walk me through what you do in that role?
I patrol the city of Pontiac, answer calls for service.
Okay. And were you working on February 14, 2025 around 1:30 p.m.?
Yes.
And were you dispatched to 660 Lydia Lane?
Yes.
And is that in the city of Pontiac?
It is.
County of Oakland?
Yes.
What was the nature of the dispatch?
It was a welfare check.
And did you arrive at 660 Lydia Lane?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you observe upon arrival?
Upon arrival, I made contact with the landlord for the residence. He was asked us to do a welfare check. He hasn't heard from the tenant in some time. Hadn't received payment in some time. So he was requesting a welfare check.
From your understanding, had there been an attempt for a welfare check earlier?
The day prior.
Was it successful?
No.
Do you know the circumstances of why it wasn't successful?
Yeah, deputies on scene weren't able to see anything inside, weren't able to gain access. Landlord came back the following day with the locksmith.
Okay. And what, if anything, did the locksmith do?
He was able to open the residence.
Can you describe what the residence looks like for the court?
It is an apartment-style townhouse with a garage underneath the residence. Where we were inside was through the garage, which with the residence would be upstairs above the garage.
And the locksmith was able to open the garage, correct?
Correct.
Upon walking in, what, if anything, did you observe?
I observed a large mold stain coming through the ceiling of the garage, which had been right under the residence. Through the garage door that was open, I immediately observed trash and feces all over the floor and a very extreme foul smell coming from the apartment.
And the garage is attached to the unit, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you enter the unit?
Yes.
Initial observations upon entering?
Right away, I observed a staircase to my left, a bedroom over to the right. I observed just trash piled everywhere, feces, cobwebs throughout the entire downstairs, and garbage trail all the way up the stairs.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness with the stipulated exhibits?
You may.
Thank you. I'm going to hand you the admitted exhibits 1 through 20. If you could look at the first picture, what do we see in that picture?
First picture would be the entrance to the garage.
Okay. And exhibit 2, what are we looking at?
The inside of the garage.
And walk us through the next picture.
That is just through the garage door from picture 2, with the staircase on the left and the bedroom door on the right, and the piles of trash on the floor.
What else did you notice on the staircase itself beyond the garbage?
I noticed there was feces on the staircase as well.
Okay. And then ultimately, did you walk up the stairway?
I did.
What, if anything, did you observe when you walked up the stairway?
When I got to the top of the stairway, I observed, while I reached, it was a living area. There was a couch in the middle that had trash piled on top of it, almost 4 feet in the air. Pizza boxes all over the place. There was just piles of feces. There was cobwebs hanging from the ceiling that you had to walk through.
Would you identify that? How would you identify that area that you're walking in? Was that the living space?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And then what did the living space, did it connect to any other parts of the home?
The living space is connected to the kitchen. It was just kind of a follow-on room, which then had multiple bedrooms that half them off were the same.
Okay. Starting with the kitchen, what were some of your observations within the kitchen?
Counters were completely covered in trash. Sink heads covered in trash. There was cobwebs from the ceiling almost all the way down to the counters. Feces throughout the kitchen as well.
When you refer to trash, were they in trash bags? What were you looking at?
Just empty pizza boxes, empty food wrappers, just piled up.
Okay. Was there any odor while you were walking through the home?
Yes, it was very foul. Our initial thought was we were checking the apartment for a dead body.
Okay.
The odor was so foul that they thought that they were looking for a dead body. it's just horrible. Absolutely horrible, and this is what these kids were living in.
Now, you testified that there were also
It's okay, Louisiana girl. I understand. I hope you have a good night. Yeah, can't even talk.
bedrooms that were in that living space or connected to that living space. Can you describe the bedrooms? How many were there?
I believe there's 3 bedrooms. They all appeared to be the same. Lots of trash. Both bathrooms were covered in trash and feces as well.
Were there beds in those bedrooms?
One of them.
And how about the bed? Was there a bed set on that? How do you describe the bed?
There was a mattress on the bed frame. The mattress was stained and extremely dirty. Had wrappers on it, wrappers all around it.
Okay. At any point were you attempting to clear the home?
Yes.
Can you describe to the court what clearing the home means?
Just ensuring that there's no dead body inside. We're trying to look and make sure that find anybody that might be inside.
While you were doing that, did anything unusual happen?
Yes.
What, if anything, happened?
As I was going through the living area, I came to a door on my right. I went to go open it and it was locked. I saw 2 more doors past that. As I began to go to the other 2 doors, I heard crying from inside that locked door.
Did it sound like crying from a number of people or one person? What did it sound like?
At the time, I believe it was multiple children.
What, if anything, did you do at that time?
At that time, I turned back around and addressed that locked door. I let them know I was the police, that I was not going to hurt them. They were safe, but they needed to come outside so we could check on their welfare.
Did they?
At first, they did not come outside. I was giving them multiple orders to come outside. At that time, a door from the bedroom behind me opened, and the oldest child exited that bedroom. He had his hands up in the air, and he identified himself to us. I told him to tell the children to come outside, which he ordered them to come outside.
Okay.
You guys, you know how scared these kids had to have been in this moment? I just can't even imagine. And then probably weren't even like as afraid of the cops as they were probably sitting there thinking, oh no, my mom's going to kill me. We're going to be in so much trouble. Like just that impending fear and doom that they probably felt in these moments. But meanwhile, it's their rescue coming. You know, they're hopefully being well taken care of now. They're hopefully going through counseling and things like that right now. But I can't help but think about the impending doom that they probably felt in these moments while this officer is walking through this home looking for whoever could possibly be in there.
Now, what were your initial observations of the oldest child?
Oldest child, he came out without a shirt on. He had blue pants on that were covered in dirt. I observed his toenails to be extremely long. He was having a hard time walking straight.
What was his demeanor when you approached him?
Nervous. He was talking very fast, and he seemed frightened.
And ultimately, was he able to get the other children out of the bathroom?
Yes.
What did you observe happening?
The bathroom door opened, and I observed 2 females, children in the bathroom. They appeared hunched over. Their arms were connected. They were staying very close to each other. They were just crying. Couldn't really understand what they were trying to say. They were both looking down and wouldn't look at us, and they kept their arms tight to their chest.
Did you see the bathroom that they exited from?
Yes, after I got them to, after several minutes of getting them to come out of the bathroom, I did check it.
Describe what the bathroom looked like, please.
The bathroom was completely filled with trash and feces on the floor. The toilet was completely filled up to the brim with feces, and they were coming off the top. The bathroom tub had feces in it as well.
Do you know where the children were in the bathroom when they weren't coming out? Like where in the bathroom they were hiding?
I don't know for sure where they were at. I did hear the shower curtain that was connected to the tub move before they exited.
What happened next after they got out of the bathroom?
We had all three of the children together, and we were in the living space at that time. We were going to go have them have a seat in our patrol car so we could figure out what was going on, and I instructed them to start walking downstairs.
Anything noteworthy of them walking down the stairs?
Yes, all three of them appeared to have a hard time walking. The two younger children were very hunched over, again, keeping their arms tight to their body. They appeared to just hold hands or stay connected at all times. They were extremely uncomfortable with deputies walking behind them. They would turn to the side and do a side shuffle. They wouldn't walk, they wouldn't turn their backs to us. So they were walking like back to back down the stairs.
And is this referring to the middle child and the youngest child? Okay. Describe the scene to the court. How many deputies were in the home at this time?
After we got down to the garage, there was at least 10 deputies there at this time.
Did you attempt to calm the children down?
Yes.
Were you successful in doing that?
Not very much.
Okay, why do you say that?
They just did not appear to become any more calm. They were very frightened. It appeared they hadn't had interaction with other people.
Okay. Did you speak to them?
I did.
Who did you speak to in particular?
I spoke to all three.
Okay.
In 5 years, these children have not seen anyone, not one human life form outside of each other in 5 years. This mom had never entered the home once she left, and they seen no one else. And they interacted with no one else, I should say. There is a neighbor who said that he had seen them wave to him out a window before on one of the interviews. But as far as like actually interacting and actually walking with people and talking to them, nothing. And again, they were probably terrified. Yeah, that's what he was just talking about, that their toenails were so long that they were having a hard time walking. It's just crazy and sad.
Now, starting with the oldest child, where did you speak to him?
I had him have a seat in the back of my car, and then I spoke to him there.
Okay. Did you ask him when Miss Bryant was, or where his mom was?
I did.
What, if anything, did you learn?
The oldest child informed me that he lives at the apartment.
I'm not going to object to hearsay at this time.
Your Honor, I believe this would fall under MRE 8031, present tense impression, the statement describing the condition or the event while it was immediately happening.
Your Honor, I guess for purposes of exam, it's probably appropriate on the present sense impression.
Yeah, I understand the nature of the objection, but it would be permitted.
Thank you. Continue, please.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Did you ask him when the last time that the defendant lived in the home?
I did, 2020 to 2021.
Did he make any other statements to you?
He informed me that he lives there along with his two sisters.
Did you speak with the middle child?
Yes.
Where did you speak to her?
Also in the back seat of a different patrol car.
Did she make any statements to you?
I was just trying to get the names of the two of them. The two youngest were together in the back of the car. They were having a hard time spelling their names to me. They had to consult each other to tell me their names.
Did you ask them for their dates of birth?
I did.
Were they able to provide that to you?
After some time of consulting each other, they were.
What happened after they were placed in the patrol cars? They were sitting there.
I was very concerned for their welfare. I called SAR EMS to come to the scene to check on them.
Why were you scared for their welfare?
Based off of my observations inside that apartment, I didn't think it was a suitable place for anybody to be living.
Did Star EMS arrive?
They did.
And were the children, were they transported to a hospital?
They were.
Which hospital?
McLaren Oakland in downtown Pontiac.
And did you follow the ambulance?
I did.
Did you go inside the hospital?
Yes.
Can you describe the children when they were in the hospital?
Yes. We took them out of the patrol cars, walked them inside. They were still having a very difficult time walking, hunched over, arms.
Would you say that's for
bodies.
all? I apologize. Would you say that's for all three of the children or specific children?
Specifically the younger two, with the hunched over, arms to the chest.
What happened after that?
We walked them inside. They went to the emergency department first, where they had their vitals checked. Nurses in the ER were also concerned that they hadn't had hygiene supplies in some time. So the children were transported upstairs, provided showers and general hygiene.
Did you, what did the children do with those hygiene supplies?
They were able to take a shower, brush their teeth, use the bathroom.
Is there anything noteworthy or anything that you noticed while they were provided those supplies?
Yes, the nurses were informing us that they were having.
And I'm going to object to your saying, I don't think that that colonizing.
They want to rephrase the question.
Of course.
That's the thing.
Did you make any observations of the children using the supplies, the hygiene supplies?
I made an observation of the children having a hard time flushing the toilet. They didn't understand how to flush the toilet.
And anything noteworthy about toothbrush and toothpaste?
They're just unfamiliar.
Were the children offered food at the hospital?
They were.
Anything noteworthy that happened when food arrived?
They did not eat at first. They waited until all three of them were together. The two youngest asked permission of the older brother if they were allowed to eat, and then they would only eat if everyone stepped out of the room.
How long would you say that you were at the hospital?
Several hours.
What happened where were you, I guess, while they were at the hospital?
I was just trying to make them the most comfortable, so I was standing outside of the room. I had contacted CPS, and I was just waiting for their arrival.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor.
At this point, they had to have been hungry and things like that, but still they didn't want to eat until all three of them were together. At this point, Annie, they would have been 15, 13, and 12. But they had been alone for 5 years, with just each other for 5 years. And like I said, in the beginning, she was sending DoorDash and different things like that on a pretty frequent basis. But they said that in the end, it got down to like she would just send like a loaf of bread at a time and things like that, where they would go extended periods with bare minimum food supplies. And so it's almost like survival, trying to make sure that they all eat together and things like that. And then you wonder, why were they afraid to eat in front of people? Just that uncomfortableness, probably from not seeing people, not interacting with people for as long as they did. It's just devastating. These key years in their life when their brain developments are happening and all the neurons are firing and you develop your personality and who you're going to be and things like that, and they just had these horrific things happening during that time period. I really hope that they are able to heal from everything and go on to be wonderful successful adults at some point in their lives. Just really really been praying for these kids, and they've been weighing on me ever since I seen this case.
Did you make any observations of the bathroom after the children brushed their teeth?
I don't recall.
Specifically in the sink, any observations?
I remember the sink had blood in it.
Now, going back to 660 Lydia Avenue, when you were doing the walkthrough of the condo, did you see any hygiene products in the home?
I don't recall seeing anything.
Any toilet paper?
I don't recall.
And were the children wearing shoes in the home when you assessed them?
No.
John, I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Daniel or Mr. Guck?
Thank you. Good morning. Deputy Curtis, the photos that you referenced, that you went through and identified, when were those taken?
They were taken after the children were transported to the hospital.
And do you know how many deputies had already walked through that home when the photos were taken?
I don't know the exact number.
More than 10?
I'm not positive. I left.
Oh, okay, so you left and followed EMS to the hospital. Okay. How many deputies were on scene at the time that you left?
Around 10, probably.
Okay, and did they all go inside the home?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Now, you indicated then when you first entered.
Sorry, I just have to interrupt. Is she really getting ready to paint the whole, oh, they could have tampered with the crime scene crap? Like we're already setting up for that type of defense to come in this trial? Like, oh, how many deputies like were through there before you took crime scene photos? Really? Like we're gonna go there? I'm certain that police did not sit there and add all of this waste and refuse and all the fecal matter, and they didn't sit there and try to grow out the kids' nails and leave them in this dirty, disheveled state and things like that. Like nobody planted the evidence, ma'am. Don't even take that path. Don't even walk down that road. It was not tampered with. Unfortunately, these officers found them just the way that this momster left them.
Entered the home and you attempted to see, do the walkthrough and see if anybody was in there. You then heard the voices from the one bathroom. Is that where you heard the cries from? Or?
Crime, correct.
Okay, and then were you calling out for those children to come out?
Yes.
And did they respond to you at all?
They continued crying.
Okay, and then did the oldest child, you stated he came out of a bedroom, correct?
Correct.
Did he come out upon command, or did he just come out on his own?
He came out.
On his own?
Correct.
Okay, and then he told his sisters to then exit as well, correct?
Correct, I instructed him to.
Okay, and he followed that command, correct?
Yes.
And he asked his sisters to come out?
Yes.
And then did they come out?
Yes.
Okay. And you already testified that they looked frightened, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree with me you were a stranger to them?
Yes.
You had never met these children before? All right, and you were in your law enforcement uniform?
Yes.
All right, so they would have seen that you were a police officer, correct?
Correct.
All right, and would you agree with me, do you know if anyone had ever been called to this home before, meaning was there a history of police interaction with this home?
Besides, like we mentioned the day prior, I'm not positive.
Okay. And so, to your knowledge, it wouldn't be an ordinary thing to have police officers or deputies at that particular home, correct?
Correct.
All right. It would be something unfamiliar to these children?
Yes.
All right. And how long had you been a deputy for?
Just under 6 years.
All right. And is it common for folks to be frightened or upset when they see the police or interact with the police?
I would say situation dependent.
Okay. So it happens, correct?
Correct.
All right. Not everybody is happy or excited to see you. Is that correct?
Correct.
And some are frightened.
Right.
All right. Now, after transporting the children to the hospital, you were speaking to these children, correct, all along?
Yes.
And did they seem to understand what you were telling them?
Yes.
And were they speaking back to you? Were they responding to you?
Softly, yes.
Okay, but they had appropriate words, correct?
Yes.
And they could, I guess, have an appropriate conversation with you, if that makes sense.
Somewhat, yes.
Okay. And you arrived to the hospital, and the children went in, and they were offered hygiene products, correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming you were not present when they actually took showers. Is that fair?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and nobody else was either. Is that correct?
The nurses at the hospital.
The nurses were there. Okay, and the children took their showers and they put on different clothes, correct?
Yes.
All right. And were they interacting with the nurses as well?
Yes.
All right, and they were verbal with them and speaking to them, correct?
Yes.
And was this consistent throughout the time that you were there? Meaning that they were communicating?
It was on and off.
Okay. And you also indicated that the sisters, or the middle child and the youngest child, they were talking to each other about when their birthdays were,
They were,
but they were able to give you the information.
eventually.
And it was the correct information?
I believe so.
All right. And what about the oldest? Was he able to provide his details?
Yes.
You were not in there when they, I guess, brushed their teeth, or you indicated that there was some blood in the sink. You don't know how that arrived there. Is that fair?
I went in the bathroom after the fact.
And you didn't watch what was going on. Is that fair? Did the children eat?
Yes.
And what did they eat?
Little Caesar's pizza.
Okay, is that what they requested?
They did request that.
So they were able to communicate to you what they'd like to eat. Is that correct?
Yes.
May I have one moment, Chairman? I have nothing else. Thank you, Deputy.
So that's it. So that's all that we were able to see. And the reason for that is, like I said, after this, the children come in. Um, and so they talk more in detail about the children and things like that. And so we are not able to see that for the protection of these children. So let me show you guys these articles though. So it says what four people testified at the hearing against Oakland County mom accused of abandoning the kids for years. Just read the whole thing. So it says the Oakland County mom accused of abandoning her kids and forcing them to live alone in filthy condition for years is now heading to trial. Kelli Bryant, 34 of Pontiac, is facing 3 counts of first-degree child abuse after authorities found her 3 children, a 15-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and a 12-year-old girl living alone. She also faces welfare fraud charges. Bryant appeared for her first preliminary examination on May 16th, 2025, where a judge ruled that there was enough evidence to presented by prosecutors for her to go to a jury trial. So Bryant will be going to trial for the charges of child abuse and welfare fraud. 4 witnesses testified at the preliminary hearing, including the deputy and the detective at, uh, who interviewed Bryant. Mm. Actually, I don't know that the kids didn't testify. It was the pediatrician for the kids. Um, and so we'll talk about what they said. So let's take a look at this. So they were just saying that it was going to be details about the kids that were sensitive. Okay, so Oakland County Sheriff Deputy Quincy Curtis was called to the Pontiac home in February for a welfare check. Deputies had been called for the welfare check the day before, but didn't get inside the home. When he arrived the following day, the landlord was there with the locksmith. So this is the testimony that we just watched for those of you guys who may have joined a little bit late. The landlord told Curtis that he hadn't seen or heard from the tenant in a while and hadn't received payment from her for some time. When Curtis walked into the home through the garage, he saw a large mold stain on the ceiling, along with feces and trash everywhere. After that, he entered the home and said that there were piles of trash, feces, and cobwebs throughout the inside of the home as well. He recalled the foul odor and said that he thought they'd be checking the apartment for a dead body. He said he encountered a locked door, and when he turned to check the other doors, he could hear crying come from the first locked door, so he went back to it. He said that he told the children they were safe and that they needed to come out so he could check on them. As he did this, the oldest child came out of one of the closed bedroom doors. The boy had extremely long toenails and had a hard time walking straight, according to the deputy. After their brother had asked them to, the other children opened the door. When they came out, they were really hunched over, standing close to each other, holding hands, and wouldn't look up, according to Curtis. They were very frightened, he said, recalling when he tried to talk to the children. He said that they had a hard time figuring out how to spell their names and when asked, had to talk amongst themselves to figure it out. I don't think it's a suitable place, or I didn't think it was a suitable place for anyone to be living, he said as he recalled the welfare check. The three children were taken to the hospital, were given hygiene supplies, including toothbrushes, toothpaste, and shower products. He said the children were confused about how to brush their teeth and didn't understand how to flush the toilet. After they brushed their teeth, there was allegedly blood in the sink. Curtis said that he didn't recall seeing any hygiene products when they searched the home. The deputy said the kids waited until all three of them were together to eat, even then wouldn't eat unless everyone else stepped outside of the room. Bryant's attorney implied that the children could have been scared because they probably aren't familiar with strangers, especially an officer being in their home. The defense attorney also argued that the blood in the sink may not have been a result of the children brushing their teeth. Curtis didn't watch the children brush their teeth. So then the pediatrician came in and testified. So this we did not get to see. Dr. Smith testified that she performed a basic examination of the children at the outpatient clinic following their stay at the hospital. She claimed she didn't know very much information about the children prior to the appointment, and CPS was the one who set up the appointment. She recalled the children arriving at the clinic accompanied by their grandfather, a social worker, and a deputy from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. She examined the three children individually while being verbal with what she was doing throughout the examination. She also told the children to let her know if they are uncomfortable with what she is doing or in any pain. All three children denied being examined in their private areas. She said she was able to examine the children everywhere else, head to toe. She recalled the oldest child didn't smile and he was somewhat quiet. He also answered her questions. She said the oldest child has brown spots inside of his mouth, possibly lesions. She described the middle child as a little bit more high spirited. Dr. Smith said the child stuttered somewhat but was able to communicate with her. The middle child told the doctor she was confused as to why this was happening. According to Dr. Smith, the middle child had a hard time standing up and her skin was darkened. She testified that all three children had difficulty seeing and they were squinting. A screening chart was used and she determined that they all had nearsightedness. She then asked about their routine before they were removed from the home. The pediatrician testified that the children's routine was wake up, use their phone or tablet, sleep, eat food when it was provided to them. She said it was unclear when they went to bed and their routine seemed disorganized. The children told the doctor that they were not allowed to go outside at all. She was concerned for the youngest child, claiming that she may be developmentally delayed and immature for her age. She also said that she was hunched over and had a very hard time standing up straight. The youngest child was also not able to get on the examination table by herself. The pediatrician said the most striking feature about the youngest child was she was unable to hold her head up straight and was weak in general. She said the children had extremely low levels of vitamin D and recommended that they attend physical rehabilitation. The defense attorney argued that the general population in Michigan would have a vitamin D deficiency. Therefore, it can be a normal thing for children to have. Like, really, defense attorney? Yes, I'm certain that her vitamin D deficiency has absolutely nothing to do about the fact that she was left alone with just fast food, was not allowed to go outside at all for the last 5 years. I'm sure it's just because she lives in Michigan and not because she was put through this traumatic, horrific experience for the last 5 years. Like, uh, I can't. I can't with defense attorneys. I could never be a defense attorney. I could never do it. The children were not underweight, the defense attorney stated, and the doctor agreed. The defense attorney said the doctor doesn't know the youngest child and can't determine if her mannerisms are immature for her age. She said all three had a good dental examination, but then she said that she was not a dentist. The defense argued that the doctor isn't a licensed psychiatrist or a psychologist to make a judgment on their mental well being. So then the investigator from the prosecutor office, Brian Martin, testified that he extracted phone data from the children's and Bryant's phones for investigative purposes. He said the children had their mom in their phone labeled as the contact is world's greatest mom or in similar verbiage. Bryant had her children's contact information in her phone labeled as my oldest, kid one, and kid two. She has like this disdain towards the girls. Um, she would only speak to the oldest, it seemed like just, I don't know. Okay. Kid one and kid two. Like, come on. He said he saw text messages exchanged mostly between Bryant and the oldest child regarding food delivery. For example, she sent a text message to the oldest on November 30th saying, there, hurry, let me know you got it. The oldest child would also send messages to Bryant when what food they were requesting. She would order it for delivery and the oldest would retrieve it from the porch. Martin read out one text Bryant sent to the children. I don't feel comfortable with you opening the door without me knowing. He testified that the children would continually ask for things from their mother. He said she would sometimes delay delivery on things they asked for. Martin said based on the oldest phone data, the oldest met a girl online and talked to her about exchanging presents for Christmas. So the oldest gave the girl his address and he let Bryant know. On December 17th, she messaged the oldest and said, you should have asked first. I would have gave you an address, but not that one. She didn't want anybody to know where they actually were. But yeah, hey, she can still send you stuff, just not to there. Let me get that present for you somewhere else, right? So Martin brought up the exchange or text exchanges between Bryant and her oldest child on February 14th, the day the children were found by police. At 7:30 p.m., the oldest child messaged Bryant saying police were there and they were scared. She responded telling them to hide and be quiet. The defense attorney argued that the mom could have been upset about giving away their address because he gave it to someone he had never physically met. The defense then claimed that the mom was very active in communicating with the children via text and phone calls. Oh, so right. So she didn't neglect them and abandon them because obviously she spoke with them. See? She spoke with them via text messages and phone calls. So she should be like have these charges dropped, right? She's a great mom. They even had her saved in their phones as, great mom. What did it say? Best mom ever or something? You kidding me? I'm starting to wonder that myself, especially with her line of work being this um I don't know. I don't know. I have to look more into and see if she wasn't on vacation, she'd probably tell me if all three children have the same father. I know that her youngest child left with her when she left because she actually has four children. But he is living with or he or she is living with their other father. like their biological father. And I believe these 3 children all have the same father, but he was in prison, I think, at first whenever all this was going down and then got out later, basically. Um, but I do think they all have the same dad now that I'm remembering back. So I don't know though. Like I don't understand the disdain that she seems to have for the 2 girls. Yeah, yeah, one dad. Thank you, Bushes. That's what I thought so. One dad. And he had tried. We had looked at the court records whenever he first got out of prison, and we had looked, and he had tried to get custody of the kids. Um, and essentially the court sided with mom, and he just kind of gave up and let it go. All for her to turn around and tell everybody that he won custody, and then she abandoned these kids anyways. It's disturbing. It's disturbing. Yeah, he went to court and won. He was supposed to get visitation, but then she still wouldn't let him see him, and he just kinda gave up. And I don't know. I have to look back at the court records again or back at my live stream that we did on that. You saw a documentary where they investigated and semi-explained why some mothers hate daughters. Really? Hmm, that would probably be interesting. Yeah, he won the rights to see them, but then she still never not let him see them. You're right, Bushes. So then the detective testified, and he testified that he was part of the child abuse investigation. He said that he was monitoring radio calls when he heard about the children claiming they hadn't seen their mom in years during a welfare check via the radio traffic. So he responded to the Pontiac home. Hi, Kathleen. How are you? Good to see you. So he testified that he saw the 2 younger children having difficulty walking and seeing in the light. He said the children were all covered in feces, and he said they appeared overwhelmed and overstimulated. So police were advised to wear hazmat suits into the home. Brish testified he never had smelled a home like that. It says where there wasn't a decomposing body. So he kept asking the deputies if there were more children inside. They really thought that they were going to see a dead body in this home. He said it's not typical for someone to wear a hazmat suit in a home to investigate due to the condition of the apartment. He was able to contact Bryant over the phone the day the children were removed. He told her that he was concerned about the health of the children. He said she agreed to meet him with him at the Pontiac substation. Bryant told Brish she was on the north side of Pontiac and took a lift to get to the station. He took her to a recorded room to question her with another detective and read her Miranda rights. He said her demeanor was questionable at times. He testified that that her appearance was the most surprising. He explained that when Bryant arrived at the station wearing clean clothes, her hair was done, and she was wearing long fake nails. He said it was unusual based on how the authorities found the children. According to Brish, Bryant admitted her actions were selfish. She said she sacrificed her children for herself. I hurt my children, he recalled Bryant saying. I sacrificed my children, probably. He said he was surprised by how confident her admission was. She described Bryant on one occasion when she met the oldest child at the garage to drop off food. She would then wait in the car until he got inside. He testified that she also went into the apartment once to check the smoke alarm since it was going off. She then pulled out the batteries in the smoke detector. She confirmed she told her children to hide when the police went into the home. She also told detectives she didn't want anyone to know that her children were living there alone. Is there anything I could do to help myself? Bryant asked when he noted the severity of the investigation. He said she asked for advice to help herself. So she initially claimed in the interview that she didn't have a support system. She later then reportedly admitted that she had communicated with the children's father and said they were unwilling to help her. She said she was going through something mentally and told the father of the children to take care of them. Meanwhile, he wanted to get the children, actually went to court to fight for the children, and she would not give the children up. Yeah, probably. Like, she probably sacrificed them for herself. It's infuriating. So, she said that she is a victim of assault, leading to her having mental health issues. She reportedly made cover stories for different people she knew. The grandfather believed the children were living with their father. Brish said that anywhere she lived throughout the city was within walking distance of the children. She apparently lived in multiple places within the city. She reportedly admitted to Brish it was common to talk to the oldest child, but not with the two youngest. She made it clear that it may have been years before seeing the two younger children. He never interviewed the children himself, but he attended the forensic interviews with them and he testified that they can talk and answer the questions they were asked. So, what the prosecutor said before the ruling. Before the judge made the ruling to bind Bryant over for trial, prosecutors made statements regarding the welfare of the children. Prosecutors said that Bryant made deliberate steps to shield her children from people who could have helped. Prosecutors also said she prioritized hiding her children over their safety based on her telling detectives that she had a broken smoke detector so it wouldn't attract attention. The children stopped going to school and were living in filth. The children couldn't reach out to family because they didn't know their numbers, according to prosecutors. So it sounds like they didn't have Pappy's number. Maybe that makes sense. One of the children claimed she never used soap in her hair because she didn't have any and believed that it would cause cancer. The defense argued the children weren't mentally or physically harmed, making it not child abuse as defined by the statute. Yeah, the kids weren't mentally or physically harmed. I swear, guys, I am going to end up like throwing my keyboard during this trial with this defense attorney if we get to watch this one. I I am literally probably going to throw it just like straight at the screen whenever she starts on her crap cuz are you kidding me? How can you say that they weren't mentally or physically harmed? They can't even stand upright. The youngest can't even hold her own head up, but they weren't physically harmed? Or what? Come on. Yeah, Ocean Tide, we'll just blame everything on mental health. Absolutely everything. Just nobody has to be held accountable for anything at all because guess what? We are all crazy. Every freaking one of us. Everybody has something. Yeah, brainwashing better be included as abuse. I don't know. Wow. The judge called this an extraordinary case with extraordinary circumstances. She then ruled that Bryant would be bound over for trial on the child abuse and welfare fraud charges. The trial date has not yet been scheduled. Yeah, neglect is abuse too, right? Yeah, right, Ocean Tide. I swear, I'm gonna like flip my lid with this lady. She just makes me so mad. I guess I need to like have a few defense attorneys on and ask them some very important questions that I have in my mind for how much money does it take for you to be able to sleep at night after defending these monsters? Like, that's what I want to know. How much money are you being paid in your line of work that you can look in the mirror and brush your teeth in the morning? You can wash your hands, you can brush your hair, you can take a shower before you head into work and defend this momster who did not even provide the basic necessities of life to her children. How can you do that? And live with yourself. And you just go in there and say that they weren't mentally or physically harmed after having a toilet who has not worked long enough that there was feces all over the entire house. Why do you think so many lawyers do drug? Yeah, maybe. Maybe is that what's wrong with this lady? Like, is that how they get through it? I can't. I just want to know, how do you sleep? How, some cases I watch and I start to worry that the defendant will be able to claim like ineffective counsel, because you can tell that these attorneys are doing like the bare minimum to get through the trial and wash their hands of the case and move on, right? They're doing the bare minimum to just do their job. And then there are some of these cases where these defense attorneys go so far out of their way to just say the most ridiculous, asinine things to try to make their client look innocent. And I know that's their job, but how do you freaking sleep at night? How do you do it? How do you stand there? I know this lady has seen pictures of this house, right? She has the case file. I am sure she has seen the children's medical reports. I'm sure she has seen pictures of these kids and pictures of the way that they were left to fend for themselves all these years. And then to say that they weren't mentally or physically harmed, like I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But I mean, I guess what we have to have defense attorneys, right? Because otherwise we'd have 100,000 Lori Vallows out there defending themselves. But you tell me how. I just, oof. I want to like look up like what is the average personality trait that a defense attorney has? Like, do they just all wake up and they're just scumbags by nature? Sorry if I offended any defense attorneys in the chat. I mean, does it how much does it pay to be a pro bono lawyer? Like, I know because a lot of them, you have to do so many defense, but even to pass the bar and go to court and decide that you want to be a defense attorney instead of like a prosecuting attorney. Yeah, especially criminal defense attorneys. There's just a few like that just really rub me the wrong way. Like I said, sometimes I watch the trials and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this guy's doing this job, like he's doing what he has to do to defend this monster and like prove his case and things like that." But every now and then there's one that it's like, "Where do you even come up with this crap? Like how can you even have the audacity to say that these kids weren't abused?" You really just stood there in the courtroom and spoke that out loud? Like, ew. Come up with a different line of defense, but do not downplay what happened to these children. You wanna lean on her mental health and try to say like, "Oh, she didn't know any better," or like try to play it off like she had some type of whatever traumatic experience that led to her not being able to go back into the apartment, and I bring a Ouija board in and try to say that there was like something holding her back. Like maybe I don't know. Come up with some type of wackadoo defense like that. But don't sit there and try to downplay what these kids have had to suffer through for the last 5 years. Don't sit there and try to say that, oh, well, obviously they were well cared for. They weren't malnourished. Like, okay, you're not going to be underweight if you're only eating fast food. If you're only eating carbohydrates and junk food, of course you're not going to be underweight, but it does not mean that you're healthy. There are plenty of average and overweight people that are very unhealthy because of the content of their diet. When's the last time those kids have had an apple or a grape or watermelon? Like, when's the last time that they had a stick of celery or broccoli or anything with any type of nutritional value that didn't come in a pizza box? Yeah, Ocean Tide, I agree. Who is Kim Kardashian going to first represent and make media headlines for following in her oh man. I don't know. I don't know. Goodness. But I don't know, guys. We're gonna keep following this one all the way through because I want to see this momster uh face justice. She needs to be held accountable for everything that these kids went through. Yeah, she certainly took good care of herself. That's why I was showing those pictures earlier. Like she was not not taken care of. Like she had herself all done up. She was perfectly fine. But meanwhile, these poor kids, you know, she was perfectly fine. I don't know. Hey, Ringo, you're still here. Yeah, no problem, Ringo. Hmm. Ringo knows what I mean. We want the defense attorneys to do their jobs and go out there and, present your alternative theory or whatever. But we don't want them to be scumbag trash defense attorneys at the same time. That's all. That's all. Me too, Lioness. I hope we find out how they're doing. And and honestly, I hope they freaking become so successful and come out of this like absolute, I don't know. Successful is such a broad term. Like successful for them, whatever it is that they want to do with their lives. I hope that they're able to do it. I hope they can get their education caught back up and get their health and everything caught back up and that they're able to live a normal life and not have to live with this like hanging over them forever. I hope they're able to recover and survive. Yeah, so no appeals. We don't want appeals. Come up with something. But trying to downplay their abuse, like, come on, lady. Get out of here. Get out of here. No way. I don't know. Anyways, guys. Yeah, it does. It depends on family dynamics for sure and what's allowed for them to do. I agree. Me too, Ringo. Oh man, this could have been so bad. Like that officer said, he was just praying that there wasn't more kids in that house somewhere. They thought for sure there was going to be a dead body. And who knows? Who knows how long it would have been until there could have been. Like thank God it did not get to that point. Thank God that landlord called that welfare check. So, all right, I'm going to bed. Everybody have a good Memorial Day tomorrow. I hope everybody is able to take some time, reflect on what Memorial Day is for, reflect on the men and women who have given their lives the greatest sacrifice so that we have the ability to sit with our family and friends and sit on YouTube or wherever it is tomorrow, wherever you spend your day. I hope that you guys all have a great, happy, blessed day, and everybody be safe tomorrow. Be safe and have a good one. Love you all. Bye.